Okay.
Yes. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Pure Lunacy with Priscilla. I have my amazing friend, Miss Anna. She has taught as a professor political science, and she now works in information technology with a global Fortune 50 institution. Amazing person, if I do say so myself.
Aw.
Has a bunch of knowledge, so much insight. So I figured, this round, let's have a conversation about everything that's going on, and have a perspective where we can analyze, take our positions of where we may lay or lie in terms of politics, and just talk about what's going on with COVID-19 and our country, our state, and our local governments. So, Anna, say hello to my pure lunatic world.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I do want to say thank you to you, my lovely, lovely friend, whom I have respected and been a cheerleader for about a decade now. I can't believe
Yes.
that. I'm very, very proud that you're in my circle of friends, and I respect you for trying to do this again, trying to inform people, trying to help us all stay sane when we're all quarantined. I'm absolutely ready to get into it. We just had a Trump presser. Did you get to see any of it?
I saw bits and pieces. I will say this. One thing that I always find good is, and I know that some people don't view it that way, but there's a certain level of optimism, and I saw your face. I think, okay, I'll put it like this, and I'll put it in this perspective. I think that it's very easy whenever we are dealing with something that feels like an apocalypse, to go down that road, to go down that Mad Max, stand in line and go buy a gun and buy all the toilet paper. And it's very easy for people to go down that road. Yeah. And I think that how he attempts to bring a certain level of optimism and saying, we're going to get back to business. We're going to conquer this. I think that that's something that's needed, from both sides of the aisle. And I think that that's something that he definitely is trying to convey in his messages.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. So that's where I'm coming from when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't disagree. That's the type of message that we need right now, because we are living in very interesting times, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum. Yes. Everybody's got a feeling about this. We're all up in our feelings. And when I look to federal leadership, I want them to provide, first of all, facts. And second of all, kind of that healing, uniting balm. Yes. That we need in times like these. And I'm going to say something. The most liberal person in Texas, is going to give credit as an example, George W. Bush in the wake of 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of how we may feel about the policies that resulted from that event, I don't think that it's up for debate that, in the wake of that incident, he came out and he gave us what we needed, exactly. Something to rally around and something to kind of help calm our nerves. And so I want to see him do more of that. And I want to see that from our local leaders too. That's been a interesting thing that maybe has not been happening as much as it should in DFW. What do you think?
I've seen how things can function in front of the camera and how things can function behind the camera. And I feel right now as if our local leaders are just, they're being bombarded with a lot of facts, a lot of information. Not only local numbers, but they're getting a lot of information federally. So my perspective, at least, whenever I see our local leaders in front of the camera, is they're just trying to get as much of the information they can out. And maybe that doesn't always convey the positive spectrum of getting the news out. But I don't think that, it's an indicator of that they don't want to be positive. I think that it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's all at once. We're all getting this information and going with the flow and rolling with the punches as they come out. Now, I always do preface that, I've worked in local government. I've worked in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. I've, been behind the scenes. So my perspective is always going to be a little bit more understanding of why the perspective in front of the camera may not necessarily be what is the reality of what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. I think my concern has been more focused on the fact that, especially in DFW, I would have liked to have seen just a coordinated regional response to this rather than, the same old stupid Dallas Fort Worth fighting. I know you've heard it. And quite frankly, Arlington and Fort Worth were a little slow to kind of get on board with the seriousness of this issue. And I think it's impacted the behavior of our citizens here. I've absolutely seen people in Tarrant County out and about and not taking it as seriously as they should. And I think you and I kind of got into this a little bit the other day, about how we should take it seriously, but not panic.
Right. And what I'll say to this, and it's actually an interesting question that I was asked just, I think, last night. One of the questions I got, a private message, was, why are we seeing the county judges at the forefront in the media, and why aren't our mayors doing more? And I think the biggest factor when it comes to this emergency is, one, it's an emergency that affects everybody. It doesn't affect one city. It doesn't affect one county. It doesn't affect one state. It's literally, it's affecting
all
the
of us.
world.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest factors that's playing a role in how we perceive it to be piecemeal, like you said, Tarrant County, Dallas County, Fort Worth, Dallas. I think one of the biggest factors is the fact that our local government charters, our local government statutes and codes, it sort of is piecemeal. And
you know what?
If anybody knows, because you talk local science.
You and I could talk about how jacked up the Texas government is. Like, how many times have we been through?
We could talk.
Nobody
about
wants
the
to
fact
keep
that
Texas government.
Texas has Texas Constitution. Every few years we have amendments because that's the only way to get something done. Or it's the reality of the fact of how our
we're very decentralized.
Yeah, it's the laws that are in place. It's the statutes that are in place. And I think that that's playing the biggest role in how our local leaders are making the decisions that they're making and why they're allowing... They're kind of having to negotiate of how to approach this kind of emergency because this is something brand new. We've never dealt with something like this before.
Absolutely.
So I think that I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't put all the blame on our leaders per se. I would say that this is going to put a spotlight on some holes, some big loopholes, and some big issues that we have in our law and our statutes and how our governments work at each level, whether it's local, state, or federal.
Absolutely.
Because we've never had to address it before. I think one of the greatest examples is Katrina in Louisiana. In New Orleans.
Speaking of Bush missing the ball on that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but
anyway.
One of the biggest factors in that tragedy was the fact that there were laws in place that were limiting how much the federal government could aid, and the state had their own laws, and the parishes wouldn't communicate, and because all of the leaders were gone, And
plus, a lack of leadership. Let's be honest, Brownie did not do a heck of a job. Okay?
You're going there. She's going there.
I had to. And that's not like being partisan. That's just being serious. Like, at that point, just to say something very briefly, the people in charge were not competent enough. And I also actually think that's a bit of a question here. Looking at how the person in charge of our federal government has appointed people to agencies that perhaps don't have salient experience for a crisis like this. And one thing that I've noticed in all these briefings is who we can actually trust to listen to. For example, Dr. Fauci.
And he's amazing.
He's great. He's great.
Been there since Reagan.
Yeah, and I would encourage anybody who might be watching this, if they need information, if they want facts, to pay attention to what this gentleman's saying, because he's been very realistic and informative. Anyway, that my point being that I think there might be a lack of confidence in the head of these agencies and in the processes that exist. And, you know, you as somebody who worked in DC, I would love to hear what your friends that work at all these federal agencies have to say. Have you spoken to any of them?
I haven't. I'm starting to.
Ignore me smoking. This is why I can't catch the
Say
Rona.
no. Say no, kids. I do not. PureLunacy does not condone.
Does not
this.
endorse this. My views do not represent PureLunacy. They are mine and mine alone. I've done my disclaimer now.
Oh my goodness.
I love you.
We're all holed up, you know?
Yes. That's perfect.
Everything we say is deep. It's all good.
Of course.
Yes.
Jesus.
But yeah, so, you know, Corona.
Miss Rona got me bent.
Miss Rona.
Miss Rona.
She's mean. I don't like her.
I don't like her either. She needs to go away.
I know. But I will say this.
Go ahead.
I don't think the Western world in general, I don't think Europe, North America, South America, I don't think any of the Western world in general took this seriously.
Girl, I got something to say on this. Okay.
Yes.
Relevant to my experience working for, again, a global Fortune 50 financial institution that everybody has definitely heard of and is too big to fail. We are global. We have offices in Hong Kong, Singapore, Manila. Mm-hmm. I mean, you name a major Asian city, and we've got some kind of facility there. And 2 months, a solid 2 months before everybody over here started taking it seriously, my colleagues in Asia, I'm not kidding, were afraid to go to the doctor when they were sick because they didn't want to catch the coronavirus. And my company actually kind of got ahead of this a little bit by starting to transition them to remote work. So I know how serious this is because I have constant communication with people in that side of the world. And it's part of what's caused me perhaps to be a bit more diligent than other people in my life. And I could say a lot more on that, but I obviously want to give you room.
I mean, I agree. I think culturally, just in general in the West world, we're gung-ho about individualism and having that freedom to do what we see fit.
Evangeline Lilly. I had to.
But in the same respect, I think that we're starting to realize that just because I'm free to do so, maybe I should take other factors into consideration of how I should utilize and express my freedom. And I don't think we were originally doing that with this virus. I think we were just, I'm free, I'm going to do what I want, I need to go to work, I need to pay my bills, and I got stuff to do. Yeah. And
and that's understandable.
But our structure, our economic structure, our social structure is so dependent on this concept that now that we're having to face something that's shutting it all down, and basically saying stay home and don't move or don't go out, don't you gotta move a little, but you gotta move, but you
just have to not expose other people to the best of your ability. I just, that's the bottom line,
dude. In Brazil, like in February, they still had Carnival. Are you kidding me?
Seriously,
like, the Rona, it's coming. The Rona.
And may I say, as a native Floridian, all of you little jerks who went to the beaches over spring break.
Yes. Gen Z. It is not millennials. Millennials, we are all old. We got bad backs. We are working full time. We don't get spring break. It is not millennials.
Right. Yeah, the youngest of you guys is what, like 23, 24 now. So yeah, we're talking
maybe even older,
young folks. Yeah, but
the oldest of us are almost 40.
Yeah. How does that feel?
I'm fabulous, honey.
Welcome.
If J-Lo can move around the way she does at 50.
Seriously.
30 is the new 15.
If I may say 46.
Fabulous, honey.
Sorry.
Yes.
Flip it moment. You got to have that though. Again, Corona
Miss
craziness
Rona.
in the brain. Miss Rona makes us make jokes.
But I will say this. I saw in the news that quite a few of the kids who were on spring break got Corona. Yeah. You didn't know?
This is my shocked face. What? You got
They
Corona?
got it. And
no way.
Side note, if you see me breathing hard
Coughing.
or coughing, I have really bad allergies right now. And
Same
I do
here.
have an inhaler, so.
Oh, I have one of those too. Yeah, no, seriously, this is time. I got to tell you, it's been a little bit weird. You know, I'm like, is it allergies or is it the Rona?
Is it the Rona? Allergies, Rona, or flu. One of the three. Take your pick.
One of the three. Yeah, and seriously, yeah, it's been a little concerning. You know, I've got yellow stuff all over my yard right now.
And I keep saying this is the worst time to have allergies because you don't know if it's Miss Rona. You don't know if it's just your seasonal allergies being a jerk.
Yep. Welcome to Texas in spring.
Yes, yeehaw! Everything's bigger in Texas, including my allergies.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I think something that might be helpful, frankly, for anybody who's watching is just a little quick discussion about authoritative sources, something that I know that's very important to you as a professor and to people with our background.
Yes.
In a time where we're so highly polarized politically as a society, everybody in politics, like we're all entitled to our own opinions. That is a given.
And that's the beauty of our freedom.
Yeah, but we're not entitled to our own facts. And so
True.
Regarding authoritative sources, where have you been looking for information on the virus? Where have you been looking for information on how to stay informed? Yeah.
That's one of the questions I get a lot. Every semester I teach, everybody, all my students in general want to know where do I get the facts? And
where does Dr. Bento go?
Yes. And when it comes to politics, when it comes to news, when it comes to that kind of information, I always tell folks, glean from all sources. And when you start to see the thread of familiarity with all those sources, that's where you're gonna see facts, right?
Yeah.
So if you see a thread of similarity with MSNBC and Fox News, I know it sounds crazy, but
it can
that's
happen.
Gonna be fact, right? Because MSNBC is gonna be liberally biased, Fox is going to be conservatively biased, which is fine if you're reaching out to your audience. But if you want to get the facts, I always look for that thread of knowledge. Now, in terms of something like this, coronavirus, don't just look at mainstream media. Go to academic sources. Go to research sources. Go look at Johns Hopkins. Go look at Harvard. Go look at, a lot of the international news sources. They are usually translated into English. So go look at international news sources and see what information they may have there, because sometimes our news sources may not have the veracity of, the news in, say, China or Russia or wherever. So when it comes to at least this virus, I'm gleaning from a lot of sources. Of course, mainstream. I always do mainstream. I do Fox. I do MSNBC. I do CNN. I do everybody. I do Huffington Post. I look at Breitbart. I look at Al Jazeera.
Ooh, you have a higher tolerance for those places than I do.
I really do. I really do, because a lot of times you'll see that the facts that are provided here are not necessarily provided there, but that thread of knowledge,
you got to piece it together.
When you start connecting all the information that's available from all your sources, that's when you have a bigger picture than just the framing that's being provided from one source.
Yeah. For me, honestly, I think the only thing I would add to that is something that I've been trying to rely on locally, and that is my county public health department.
Amen.
People can Google that up if you live in Tarrant County, just Tarrant County Health Department. They actually have a page that's dedicated to COVID-19.
Yes.
That's been providing some Yeah, Dallas County. I'm sure, or I would hope that most of the counties are starting to provide this kind of
Yes.
information. That's a good way to track it. And you mentioned Johns Hopkins. They have a great coronavirus heat map that is showing all the trends and how it's spreading. And then one more thing that that I've been clearing my throat because of allergies. One other thing that I've turned to is actually New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's daily press briefings. Anyone who's interested can find them at governor.ny.gov. He does them every morning, roughly 10 o'clock Central. Obviously, it's New York focused because they're an epicenter of one of the outbreaks, but he discusses a lot of the challenges that governors, people at the state level have had in trying to ramp up in preparation for this virus and also flatten the curve. He's provided some very calm, factual leadership that I personally have appreciated. So I would recommend that to anyone. You know, again, it's not partisan. He's doing his job as a governor, and it's a great insight into how all of these elected officials are dealing with it. You know, if you want to know how government works, look to them in times of crisis, see what they do, see the decisions that they make, how they lead, who they surround themselves with.
True. And I will say, I do have a little bit of a caveat. I have the honor and privilege of knowing people who are in the field, right?
Awesome.
And I think that that's one of the greatest things is just being in contact, not in person, social distancing. But yes, social distancing. There
Way
you go. But not emotional distancing. We can still stay in
never.
contact. But I do know, you know, quite a few people who are nurses, who are doctors. And I think the greatest honor of all is that I have a cousin who is an epidemiologist.
Really?
Yes. In Brazil.
Oh, wow.
I won't shout out her name. I don't know if she wants to.
Yeah, but that's a fantastic resource. You have somebody to talk to who is basically on the front lines, and that's amazing.
And it's real. So,
and I'm sure I speak on behalf of everybody watching this when I say give her a big old high five. Oh wait, that didn't work. Boom.
Yes. So I love to brag on all my peeps.
Oh yeah,
including you. Yes,
I'm just a loud mouth.
I have a cousin on that front line as an epidemiologist in Brazil, in São Paulo, and
interesting.
Very proud of you, cousin. I love you.
I love you too. Seriously.
But can we, on that note, you know, can we just as a society like come together and recognize that we socially need to put more love and more affection and more respect to more people than just celebrities?
Oh my God, yes, please. Seriously.
Like we pay, and I'm sorry, I'm part of the problem. I'm going to admit something. I love reality TV. It's
okay, baby. We all have our things.
We all have our vices.
We all have our things,
reality
girl.
TV. So I contribute to the problem.
I read delisted every day. Like
I'm telling you, you talk to me about any of the housewives, and I am there.
I got you.
But I feel like, you know, we need to highlight and we need to just give a round of applause and thank yous and money and we need to do so much more for our nurses, for our doctors, for our police officers, for our firefighters, for our teachers, for our social workers, for the people stocking our shelves in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes. And I would even take that a step further and say, we really need to start valuing all those people out there that live paycheck to paycheck. Like in all seriousness, about 90% of my social circle right now is either service industry in bars and restaurants, or they're musicians. Yeah. And these people, these creatives and these service industry workers provide so much for us as a society that we rarely acknowledge. And this is maybe an opportunity for us all to kind of recalibrate and to step back and go, really, what actually matters? What do we value?
Yes.
What is really important? What connects us?
Exactly. Does what Jen and Brad are doing on the red carpet really matter?
Thank you.
Answer.
No.
No, it does not
No.
matter. No.
Hard no. Hard no. It like I honestly could not give any less F's. keeping it,
Y'all give
keeping
her an
it.
applause.
Seriously, that was so hard.
She held it in.
I could not give any less of those about what Kim Kardashian has to say, or Evangeline Lilly, or like.
But
honestly,
I will say
anybody.
this: I'm not going to knock on Kim though, because Kim is doing
Oh, I'm
a
gonna
lot
knock her.
for. Listen for justice reform.
No.
She is on the forefront of justice reform. She's at least lending her voice to something that's huge.
I don't believe she's in law school.
Shh. It's true though. Watch when she passes her bar and when she's over there standing up for all those people and she's making her daddy proud in his grave.
And here it is. This is a perfect example. Like this, seriously, like even that 30 little seconds, like I really don't need to know about those things. I really don't need to know anything about her celebrity life. Like if she wants to go be an advocate, that's awesome. But in the grand scheme of things, these people that are famous, these people that are pushed on us in the media, these people that, you know, have their deals with their paps and get their photographs, none of that matters. What matters is, for example, the connection you and I have that spurred this idea to have these kind of conversations.
Yes.
The connections that we make out in the real world, even though we're all relying on social media a lot right now, what really counts is what happens in our day-to-day interactions with people. And we need to remember that, and we need to hold on to it and value it. And my God, like as soon as we can all get together again, I would love to see changes in behavior that put those values to the forefront, because I think that's where our commonality is. You know, like you and I, a lot of people watching this don't know that there are some places where you and I are so diametrically opposed politically.
Yes.
You know, but we have love for each other on a human level,
love
and we
and
have that
respect.
connection. Right. Exactly.
I think that's a big factor to that love, you know?
Yeah.
You don't love somebody if you don't respect them.
Precisely. And I would like to see that in everyday relationships again, you know, that we just, even if you're a stranger, just afford somebody a little respect and a little courtesy and a little compassion, because you never know what anybody's going through.
Absolutely.
Simple.
It's so true.
Simple.
That's what I have to say to that. She just did a little sermon for y'all. That's what that was. That was some PureLunacy sermon preaching.
Seriously, we should love each other.
And I think that right now, now that everybody's having to, you know, social distance and stay home, and there are some stay-at-home orders now being put into place.
Yeah.
I think we're all socially having to realize, you know, that we value that social interaction. We value human touch and human beings. And I think that it's something that once this is over, you know, hopefully it's a once in a lifetime experience and the apocalypse doesn't return for round 2.
No zombies.
I love Jesus, so
no, like you just got me, honestly. Something that I personally have been struggling with in having to socially isolate in quarantine is that I'm a very tactile extrovert. Yes. Like, you know me, I hug everybody. You know this. Like, and
Squishes.
Yeah, seriously, like what you said a minute ago about the human touch, it is so important and it's necessary for our survival, and something that I've been thinking about a lot in this time of isolation, especially after I finally got out and got a bike ride the other day and got to see like springing, and I saw a bobcat and there was wildflowers blooming, and like life goes on, like life is going on despite what's happening right now. And the real question is, I think that we should be considering is that, can we actually go on without each other? Is this going to teach us how connected we really are? And I hope it does. I hope it does.
I really do too. And I hope that it teaches our younger generations too, just because what I've observed at least is younger generations are more digitally attached.
Yeah, they
and
really are.
more humanistically detached. And I think that this may, like, put a fire under their behinds to enjoy being outside, enjoy being around
People.
people.
I hope so. I hope so. But I also I think that kind of puts them at a slight advantage to an extent. Something that's come up in the conversations I've had with my older, like Gen X and above friends since this went down, is that there's a significant portion of millennials, and then of course everybody after
Gen
them,
Z.
that Gen Z, that has grown up really not alone, like in a sense that the phone was always there. You could always text somebody. You could always look at social media. The connection was there. Whereas for some of us that grew up in those kind of pre-technology days, when we had to be alone, we were really alone.
True.
I mean, really, really alone. There's a thing about latchkey kids. And this feels like, to me, like a little bit too familiar. You know what I'm saying? And it's also new for me because, again, last time, I had to isolate as a latchkey kid. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have video calls. So I think we're all experiencing so many things within new paradigms and new dynamics. And we're all just kind of adjusting to it. Like, how do we work our way through this without our people in our faces?
Right. And always being interconnected, always being around people.
Yeah, that's the thing that I miss most, because I go to a live show like once or twice a week, and I feel like, wow, where's all my people right now? This is the worst.
We're having to talk to each other digitally.
Yes.
I agree.
It's hard.
I just hope that at the end of the day, like, let me actually backtrack here. I think the biggest thing here is saving lives. And I think it was the Illinois governor who said, I have to make a choice between saving lives or saving livelihoods. And if you don't have lives, how are you going to save the livelihoods? And I think that that's going to be the biggest factor in whatever decisions our elected officials make, is to make sure that we save lives. And I think that they're all taking the right steps. And
they're getting there.
I hope that our Congress, I know that there's a little bit of a tug of war right now for some provisions on the bailout, and I hope that they get it together, because now they did the right thing in saving the lives, but now they need to save the livelihoods, and I hope that they make the right decisions. I pray that they step up to the plate and they end this tug of war and just do it.
Get it done.
Do it.
I mean, honestly, get it done. I did actually get a little bit of an update on that in the presser today before we got on the phone. And it appears as though the Senate has actually reached a compromise in that there will be an oversight board for the corporate funds, and that it's going to be 4 phases. I believe the number that they spoke about was $1,500 a month for most American families, plus $500 for every child. And although that wouldn't take care of everything, in a lot of cases, I think it's a good step forward. Like, you've got to do something right now. You've got to do something right now. And I agree. Maybe this will be an opportunity, in all seriousness, for the Senate, honestly, to get over themselves and do the right thing for once, because we are looking.
It's both sides. Both sides need to compromise, and
that's how government's supposed to work. Remember?
And I always
we've
tell people,
all forgotten that.
People have asked me, they call me Professor Bento. They say,
well, you're Professor Bento to me.
They always say, Professor Bento, has our country ever been divided as it is now? Because it's so divided. And I say, yeah, it's called the Civil War.
Civil War? Seriously?
Like, they just need to get it together. I understand that ideologically.
Girl, where your students come from?
I understand. But come on. We, like, our founding fathers, I always try to tell people, we paint this beautiful picture of our founding fathers. They established America. Yes, and they hated each other.
Yeah.
A lot of them hated each other.
Yes, literally.
Nobody talks about the fact that they had a duel. They had duels and killed each other. They hated each other politically and ideologically. But the greatness of who they were was that they knew that if they were to succeed, they needed to put their egos aside. They needed to put their ideologies aside and say, okay, we're going to compromise. Nobody's going to be 100% happy, but we're going to get this done. And that's the beauty. That's the honor of honoring, the beauty of honoring our founding fathers, is recognizing they didn't get along. They didn't ideologically like each other.
Yep.
But they got it done.
You've just nailed it. You've just nailed it right there. Again, duels. Physical violence within
shooting guns at each other.
Yeah, shooting guns at each other. And these people somehow still managed to accomplish something for the greater good. And
created the greatest nation in the world, in history of mankind.
Yeah, and we're still in the middle of this great experiment, and this is an opportunity for them to prove that they're worthy of that legacy, frankly.
Absolutely.
They're in an extreme position of privilege. Now is your time to step up and really do the right thing and help the nation.
The nation, yes.
Yeah, and I think we all want that. That's one thing that's been kind of a common thread in my conversations recently, is that no matter where we stand on the political spectrum right now, we're all like, okay, guys, get it together. Show me results.
We need actions. We need
action.
We don't need your words right now.
Yep.
We need you to vote.
No more thoughts and prayers. No offense. It's time for action.
But definitely pray and definitely.
Oh, not saying not to.
Don't stop.
I'm just saying there's more. There's more than that.
Yes.
You know, it's time.
You pray and then you act on that prayer.
Yep, exactly. Well, I hope they get it together. I think we're going to know. I think they're supposed to take a vote this evening.
Yeah.
On the next round of the stimulus in the Senate. And so, honestly, in all seriousness, my fingers are really, really crossed that they actually accomplish something tonight and we can start getting these checks to people who are hurting. My biggest thoughts right now are not just for the first responders, but for also all of those, paycheck to paycheck people and creatives who have lost their incomes right now. And
so many people are being laid off.
Yeah.
And so many, and side note, so many small businesses are going to get hit so hard.
That's a big thing. I would also suggest, if people have the ability to support those small businesses in some way.
Yes.
Even like a takeout order to a small local restaurant, something like that is going to keep them going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a mess. And I hope that we're all going to be in this together now and really take care of each other and support each other as best we can, both financially and emotionally. That's the big one, the emotional one.
Yeah, it's true.
In my not so humble opinion.
At the end of the day, I know this. We're Americans, and one thing we know how to do is get back up.
Yes.
One thing we know how to do. We know how to mess up. We know how to fall.
Hold my beer.
But we know how to get back up. And that's one thing that, we can close it out on this.
Okay.
At the end of the day, no matter what, there's always hope. And that's why we have Pure Lunacy, because we talk about the issues, we talk about these challenges, but then we stand up and we do something about it. We contribute to our communities. We go and we volunteer. We go, hopefully we get people running for office. We have people.
You. Sorry, called out.
Yes. But that is Pure Lunacy. We gonna pray on that, girl. That is the beauty of Pure Lunacy. It's insane that even when we're on our knees and we feel like we can't get back up, we're gonna get back up.
Yeah, we are.
We're facing something that's scary, yes, but that doesn't mean that we're not gonna face it anyways.
Yep, and we're gonna get back up together.
Absolutely.
I love you.
I love you. This is Pure Lunacy, y'all. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.
We're going to have Miss Anna visiting definitely a few times. If not a month, then every few months. Who knows? We'll see how Pure Lunacy goes after this wonderful disaster. Until then, I'll talk to y'all soon. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.